It's a region that occupies a disproportionate amount of global focus. Despite being home to a relatively small percentage of the world's population, the Middle East consistently dominates international headlines. It's a place of immense complexity, historical depth, and ongoing tension. Why does this region, spanning from North Africa to the Persian Gulf, remain so critically important on the global stage? What are the underlying factors that ensure the world's leaders, markets, and media are constantly watching? Let's analytically dissect the key reasons behind the Middle East's enduring global relevance. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for comprehending much of contemporary international affairs. Perhaps the most immediate and tangible reason for the Middle East's global importance lies beneath its sands: vast reserves of oil and natural gas. The region, particularly the Gulf states, holds nearly half of the world's proven oil reserves and a significant portion of its natural gas. This isn't just a statistic, it's the bedrock of the global energy system. Major industrial economies, from China and India to the nations of Europe, remain heavily reliant on these fossil fuel exports to power their industries, transport, and daily lives. While the world is transitioning towards renewable energy, this shift is a multi-decade process. For the foreseeable future, oil and gas from the Middle East are indispensable components of the global energy mix. The physical pathways for this energy are also critically important. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow maritime choke point connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, is arguably the most vital waterway on the planet for oil transport. A staggering 1/5 of the world's total oil supply passes through this strait daily. Any significant disruption to traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, whether due to conflict, political tension, or accident, would have immediate and catastrophic global consequences. Oil prices would not just rise, they would likely skyrocket, triggering economic crises in energy-importing nations. Global supply chains, heavily dependent on affordable energy for transportation, would face severe disruption. Beyond the Strait of Hormuz, other critical energy infrastructure exists throughout the region, including pipelines and export terminals. The security and stability of these facilities are paramount for maintaining predictable global energy flows. Attacks or sabotage on this infrastructure, as seen in the past, can send immediate shockwaves through international markets. Furthermore, the major oil-producing nations, particularly those within OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, and its allies, OPEC+, wield significant influence over global supply and, consequently, price. Decisions made in Riyadh, Tehran, or UAE about production levels can directly impact the cost of fuel for consumers worldwide and influence the economic health of nations. This collective power gives these states a unique form of leverage in international relations. Even as the world contemplates a future less reliant on fossil fuels, the Middle East remains central. Many regional states are investing heavily in renewable energy projects and hydrogen production, aiming to become future energy exporters in a green economy. Their vast financial resources, accumulated from decades of oil wealth, position them to be major players in the energy transition itself, influencing its pace and direction. Therefore, the region's role as the primary global energy supplier is not merely historical. It is a current reality with profound implications for economic stability, national security, and international politics. The world's dependence on Middle Eastern energy ensures constant attention and strategic maneuvering from global powers. The Middle East's importance extends far beyond its energy reserves. Its geographical location makes it a natural and unavoidable crossroads connecting three continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. This unique position has made it a hub of trade, culture, and conflict for millennia. In the modern era, this geography translates directly into strategic geopolitical significance. For global powers, controlling or influencing this region offers significant advantages. It provides access to vital sea lanes, facilitates military projection across continents, and serves as a bridge for trade and communication. Consequently, the Middle East has become a primary arena for competition among the world's major powers. The United States has maintained a significant military presence in the region for decades, establishing bases in countries like Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the UAE. This presence serves multiple objectives: ensuring the security of energy flows, counterterrorism operations, deterring potential adversaries like Iran, and projecting power into a critical strategic zone. The U.S. military footprint underscores the region's perceived importance to American global interests. China, while historically less involved militarily, is rapidly expanding its economic and strategic presence. The Middle East is a crucial component of China's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, serving as a vital link for infrastructure and trade routes connecting Asia to Europe and Africa. China is investing heavily in ports, railways, and energy infrastructure, securing its access to energy and expanding its political influence through economic ties. This growing Chinese presence represents a significant shift in the regional power balance. Russia also maintains historical ties and strategic interests in the Middle East, particularly through its support for the Syrian government and its relationships with various regional actors. Russia seeks to challenge U.S. influence, secure its southern flank, and expand its arms sales and energy partnerships. The Syrian conflict, in particular, has served as a platform for Russia to reassert itself as a major player in the region. These global powers often engage in complex proxy competitions within the Middle East, supporting different regional states or non-state actors to advance their own agendas without direct confrontation. This dynamic exacerbates existing regional tensions and contributes to ongoing conflicts. The wars in Syria and Yemen, for example, are often viewed through the lens of this broader geopolitical struggle. The region's proximity to Europe also makes it critical for security concerns like terrorism and migration. Instability in the Middle East can directly impact European security through the flow of refugees and the potential for extremist groups to operate or inspire attacks. This interconnectedness ensures that European nations, too, remain deeply invested in the region's stability. In essence, the Middle East is not just a collection of countries, it is a central node in the global strategic network. Its geography dictates that any power seeking to project influence across Eurasia and Africa must engage with the region. This makes it an unavoidable stage for geopolitical maneuvering, competition, and the testing of international power dynamics. While external powers play a significant role, the internal dynamics and rivalries within the Middle East are equally crucial to understanding its global impact. The region is characterized by a complex web of competing interests, historical grievances, and aspirations for regional leadership. These internal power struggles frequently spill over borders and have international repercussions. One of the most significant and enduring rivalries is between Saudi Arabia and Iran. This competition is multifaceted, encompassing political, economic, and religious dimensions. It is often framed as a sectarian struggle between Sunni-majority Saudi Arabia and Shia-majority Iran, though strategic interests are paramount. Both nations vie for influence across the region, supporting opposing factions in conflicts and political disputes. This rivalry manifests in various proxy battlegrounds, most notably in Yemen, where Saudi Arabia leads a coalition fighting Houthi rebels allegedly supported by Iran. It also plays out in Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq, where both countries support different political and militia groups. This competition fuels instability, exacerbates humanitarian crises, and complicates efforts to resolve regional conflicts. Another critical dynamic involves Israel and its relationships with its Arab neighbors and the Palestinians. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains a central, unresolved issue that generates significant international attention and often serves as a flashpoint for broader regional tensions. While some Arab states have normalized relations with Israel in recent years, the underlying issues of territory, security, and Palestinian rights persist. Beyond these major fault lines, other regional powers pursue their own distinct agendas. Turkey, under President Erdogan, has sought to expand its influence, particularly in North Africa and the Eastern Mediterranean, often challenging the interests of other regional states like Egypt and the UAE. Egypt, the most populous Arab nation, maintains significant influence, particularly concerning issues related to the Nile River and stability in North Africa. The UAE and Qatar, wealthy Gulf states, project influence through economic investment, media networks, and sometimes military involvement in regional conflicts. These regional rivalries are not contained within the Middle East. They have tangible global effects. Competition for influence can drive arms sales from international powers, fueling regional militarization. Support for different factions in civil wars contributes to refugee flows that impact neighboring countries and Europe. The ideological dimensions of these rivalries can influence diaspora communities worldwide and contribute to the spread of certain political or religious narratives. Understanding these complex, overlapping regional rivalries is essential because they are often the immediate drivers of conflict and instability that then draw in external powers and impact global systems. The fragmentation of power and the intensity of these competitions ensure that the Middle East remains a volatile and unpredictable region, demanding constant international monitoring and engagement. The Middle East is not just a geopolitical or economic battleground. It is also the historical and spiritual heartland for billions of people worldwide. It is the birthplace of three major monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This deep religious significance imbues the region with a unique form of global influence, often referred to as soft power. Cities like Jerusalem, Mecca, and Karbala hold immense religious importance for adherents of these faiths across the globe. Events occurring in or around these holy sites can resonate deeply with communities far beyond the region's borders, stirring emotions, shaping worldviews, and sometimes triggering political or social reactions internationally. For Islam, the Middle East is the epicenter. Mecca and Medina in Saudi Arabia are the holiest cities, the destination of the annual Hajj pilgrimage that draws millions from around the world. Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem is the third holiest site in Sunni Islam. Najaf and Karbala in Iraq are central to Shia Islam. The custodianship of these sites and the interpretations of religious doctrine emanating from influential institutions within the region give states like Saudi Arabia and Iran significant religious authority and soft power leverage within the global Muslim community. Similarly, Jerusalem is profoundly important to both Judaism and Christianity, containing sites central to their histories and beliefs. The status of Jerusalem, particularly concerning the Temple Mount/Haram al-Sharif, is a highly sensitive issue with international implications, capable of igniting tensions far beyond the immediate region. This religious influence is not merely spiritual, it has tangible political and social consequences. States and non-state actors in the Middle East can use religious narratives and institutions to mobilize support, legitimize their actions, or challenge adversaries. Ideological movements, both mainstream and extremist, often draw heavily on religious interpretations originating from or popularized within the region. The spread of certain interpretations of Islam, for example, through funding of mosques, schools, and cultural centers abroad, can influence religious and political discourse in Muslim communities worldwide. Similarly, the actions of groups claiming religious legitimacy, such as ISIS or Hezbollah, have global security implications. Religious and ideological differences within and between countries in the Middle East can also fuel internal dissent, regional rivalries, as seen in the Saudi-Iran dynamic, and international tensions. Conflicts often acquire a sectarian dimension, making them harder to resolve and increasing their potential to draw in external actors sympathetic to one religious group or another. Therefore, the Middle East's role as a global religious and ideological center ensures that events within the region resonate deeply with billions of people worldwide. This adds another layer of complexity to its global importance, making it a focal point not just for governments and corporations, but also for faith communities and civil society groups across the planet. While oil has historically defined the Middle East's economic relationship with the world, many countries in the region are actively pursuing ambitious plans for economic transformation and diversification. Recognizing the eventual need to move beyond fossil fuels, states like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar are investing vast sums from their sovereign wealth funds into developing new industries and sectors. These diversification efforts are wide-ranging and often involve mega-projects designed to attract global attention and investment. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 includes futuristic initiatives like NEOM, a planned cognitive city, and massive investments in tourism along the Red Sea coast. The UAE continues to position itself as a global hub for finance, logistics, and tourism, exemplified by cities like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Qatar has invested heavily in infrastructure and hosted major international events like the FIFA World Cup, boosting its profile as a global destination. Investments are also targeting cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence, renewable energy, solar and wind power, and even space exploration. These countries aim to become leaders in the industries of the future, leveraging their financial power to acquire technology and expertise from around the world. Beyond traditional economic sectors, regional states are also using soft power tools like sports diplomacy to enhance their international image and influence. Hosting major sporting events, investing in global sports clubs, like Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund acquiring Newcastle United or its investments in golf, and sponsoring international tournaments are all part of a strategy to build global brands and foster international connections independent of oil. These economic transformations have significant global implications. They create new opportunities for international businesses and investors, but also shift economic power dynamics. The sovereign wealth funds of Gulf states are among the largest in the world, making them major players in global financial markets and investors in companies and assets across continents. However, these transformations also face challenges. They often rely heavily on foreign labor, raising human rights concerns. The success of these ambitious projects is not guaranteed and depends on factors like global economic conditions, political stability, and the ability to attract and retain talent. Furthermore, the pace of social and political change required to support these economic shifts is a complex internal dynamic. Despite the challenges, the commitment to diversification signals a long-term vision for the region's role in the global economy. The Middle East is not content to remain solely an energy supplier. It aspires to be a hub for innovation, finance, tourism, and logistics in a post-oil world. This ongoing economic evolution ensures that the region will remain a focus for global business, finance, and development well into the future. Despite the aspirations for modernization and diversification, the Middle East remains a region characterized by significant and persistent volatility. This inherent instability is a major reason why the world cannot afford to look away, as it poses direct risks to global security and economic stability. Ongoing conflicts continue to plague several parts of the region. The civil war in Syria, though less intense than at its peak, remains unresolved, leaving millions displaced and the country fragmented. Yemen is still grappling with a devastating humanitarian crisis fueled by a protracted conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to see cycles of violence and tension, particularly in Gaza and the West Bank. Political instability is also a recurring feature in many countries. Lebanon faces deep economic crisis and political paralysis. Iraq continues to navigate complex internal divisions and external influences. Iran grapples with internal dissent and international pressure over its nuclear program and regional activities. These internal political dynamics can quickly escalate and have regional or international consequences. The threat of terrorism, while diminished compared to the height of groups like ISIS, remains a concern. Extremist ideologies continue to find fertile ground in areas of instability, and groups operating in the region can pose threats globally through inspiration, planning, or directing attacks. Furthermore, the region is prone to various forms of asymmetric warfare, including cyber attacks, drone strikes, and missile threats. Attacks on oil infrastructure, shipping, or military targets can occur with little warning, creating immediate uncertainty and risk for global markets and international actors operating in the region. For global markets, this constant volatility translates into a permanent risk premium associated with the Middle East. Geopolitical events in the region, whether a drone attack on an oil facility, a flare-up in conflict, or a political crisis, can trigger immediate reactions in global stock markets, commodity prices, and shipping insurance rates. Investors and businesses operating internationally must constantly monitor the pulse of the region and factor in the potential for sudden disruptions. For governments and militaries worldwide, the volatility necessitates continuous intelligence gathering, diplomatic engagement, and military readiness. The potential for conflicts to escalate, draw in external powers, or generate humanitarian crises requires constant attention and preparedness. This persistent state of volatility is not merely a regional problem. It is a global challenge. It impacts energy security, international trade, refugee flows, and the global fight against terrorism. The unpredictable nature of events in the Middle East ensures that it remains a focal point for international crisis management and strategic planning. Bringing it all together, the Middle East's enduring importance stems from its position at the nexus of several of the world's most critical challenges and forces. It is where the global energy system meets geopolitical competition. It is where ancient religious identities intersect with modern political aspirations. It is where rapid economic transformation coexists with deep-seated instability. You cannot have a meaningful global conversation about energy security or the transition to renewable energy without discussing the Middle East. Its reserves, infrastructure, and investment decisions are central to this global challenge. Addressing global security threats, including terrorism and the proliferation of weapons, inevitably involves engaging with actors and issues in the Middle East. The region's conflicts and political dynamics have direct implications for international security. Understanding and navigating interfaith relations and the role of religion in global affairs requires acknowledging the Middle East as a primary source of religious and ideological influence for billions worldwide. Furthermore, major global challenges like climate change, migration, and economic development are all intertwined with dynamics in the Middle East. Environmental changes can exacerbate resource scarcity and instability. Conflicts and economic hardship drive migration flows. The region's economic trajectory impacts global markets and investment patterns. While global attention may periodically shift to other pressing issues, the rise of Asia, technological revolutions like AI, or global pandemics, the fundamental factors that make the Middle East critical remain constant. Its strategic geography, energy resources, religious significance, and inherent volatility ensure that it will always circle back to the forefront of international concern. The Middle East is more than just a region on a map. It is a complex system with profound global connections. It acts as a pressure point where global forces converge, a bridge between continents and cultures, and often a mirror reflecting broader international tensions and challenges. The analytical conclusion is clear. The Middle East remains indispensable to global affairs due to a confluence of factors that are deeply embedded in the structure of the modern world. Its control over vital energy resources, its position as a strategic geopolitical crossroads, the intensity of its internal rivalries, the weight of its religious and ideological influence, and the persistent reality of its volatility all combine to ensure its central role. As long as the global economy relies significantly on fossil fuels, as long as major powers compete for influence across Eurasia and Africa, as long as religious and ideological identities shape political landscapes, and as long as regional conflicts threaten broader stability, the Middle East will continue to command the world's attention. Understanding this complex region is not optional. It is essential for anyone seeking to comprehend the forces shaping our interconnected planet. To truly grasp why the Middle East matters, You must look beyond the headlines and delve into these underlying dynamics. Educate yourself on the history, the economics, the politics, and the cultures that make this region so uniquely impactful. Follow reputable news sources, read analyses from experts, and seek out diverse perspectives. Share this understanding with others, fostering informed discussion about a region that is, and will remain, at the center of everything. Your informed perspective is a crucial step in navigating our complex world.